everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Joyful Journeys as we celebrate our 25th anniversary in Northern Virginia. Today, I am joined by Mimi and Cailor at Steampunk.
Thanks. Hi.
Yes. Hi, Sammy. Thanks for coming to the studio.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for inviting us to film here. This is so fun. And before we get too deep into it, why don't you tell everyone about how we kind of made this connection? Because it is pretty special.
It is, yeah. So I'm part of HC&J, which is Homeland Commerce and Justice, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Too many acronyms, government. But our group decided we do a quarterly donation, and I nominated Girls on the Run for the quarterly donation, and we won it. So I got to give you guys the donation. I was really happy to give back to you guys, mostly because I did Girls on the Run growing up, and it left such an impact on my life that I was like, how can I help girls right now? And so, yeah, that's how we made the connection. And I was talking about it with Cailor, and Cailor was like, I was on Girls on the Run too. And, the day after we sent you guys the donation, so many people in the office came up to me and they were like, I have a daughter who's in Girls on the Run. I have a daughter that's in Girls on the Run. And I was like, wow, this is actually a much bigger community than I knew. Because when I started, it was like the first few years and there really wasn't much of a community. So,
I think one thing, especially just piggybacking off of that, is I knew you guys were coming in that day, but I wasn't a part of the crew that was giving the check. But then I was like, oh my God, Girls on the Run. I love Girls on the Run. I really want to be a coach. And that had so many great memories growing up. And I'm still a runner to this day. And I attribute all of that to Girls on the Run. And so we all just started talking, and you told us about this podcast, and we got really excited because that's a big part of what we do here at Steampunk is make original content.
Specifically with Cailor and I.
Yeah. So we were like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. But it unlocks this memory of just those are the days, those are the best things and the best runs. And I know we'll get way more into that, but yeah, so super grateful that you guys came out here and that we could have donated back to Girls on the Run.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, no, it is, such a crazy connection, and just, now you get to give back even more. You get to tell about your time, and you get to hopefully inspire some of the participants who are in the program right now, and they can look forward to what they have in the years ahead. So, Mimi, why don't we start with you since you participated first? Yeah. Why don't you tell us about when you were in the program, where you participated, and what it was like for you?
Yeah, so I started back in around 2008. I was at Waples Mill Elementary School. I was about in the third grade when I started, and I think the program was founded that year, or if not...
It might have been founded at
I'm getting my numbers wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say.
We talked about this earlier.
We talked about my date that I started.
I was 2002.
Yes.
To 2005. Okay. That's why.
I was 2008.
We shouldn't have talked before this.
No.
Yeah, so I was the year after it had started. And they had just started at my school. There wasn't many schools that were doing it. And I know there wasn't any 5Ks. There was one 5K, but that was it. And it wasn't that big of a deal. I didn't even do it my first year. My first year, I just met up with the girls in the morning and just did the running. I actually didn't do the 5K. It was more just my parents were like, what are we going to do with this hyper girl? And I was like, I don't know. I can run. So that's how I got involved.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Cailor, what about you?
So I think, I definitely started in the third grade, and I graduated high school 2020, so that was 2008.
Yeah,
I think.
We mixed up the numbers.
If you do the math, I think that's 2008. And then I remember it being, I think it was before school, but it might have been after school. I definitely remember all of us just getting together, and that's a consistent visual that I have when I think of Girls on the Run. And since then, I did the 5Ks. I had the reindeer romp. I did that with my dad. And I always, then through life, running became this thing that was a healthy habit within my lifestyle that I did for myself, but always was a part of community. So it was an individual sport, but I never did it for the 4 years of high school, or only did it and then quit travel when I went to college. It was never that. It was this thing that was going to be a forever in my life. And then it also was something that with my dad too, we were always buddies. I remember that was our thing, was then signing up for races. And when I was 12 years old, I ran the Armington Miler with him. And then I've done it now 11 years in a row. And it was always something like trying to get with people and go for runs with people. And I did it in middle school and joined like a run club there. And then I didn't do cross country or anything in high school. Wow. Because it was never supposed to be this thing that was like, it was a mandatory practice or something. It was something that was just like for my own personal passion and finding community. So I think Girls on the Run really established that for me. And I did it 3rd through 5th grade. And now I was at Selden's Landing Elementary School in Leesburg, Virginia. And so now I was hoping that like I could go back there and be an assistant coach. I don't know if they currently have a chapter there, but maybe I'll work on it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Any team would be very lucky to have you as a coach.
Oh, thanks.
But it would be, I think it's really special for the participants, especially we'd have a program called Junior Coaches, which it is for high school students who are able to kind of grow their leadership skills.
Oh, cool.
In an environment that they might be used to because they might have participated in Girls on the Run, but also just a fun, cool environment. And I think they have a really unique perspective when they can talk to their team about like, hey, when I did this, this is what it was like. And they might be able to see stuff that adult coaches who didn't go through the program might not be able to see. So you definitely have a unique perspective there.
Yeah, definitely. And they can relate, right? They can relate to the kids younger. So it's just, that's a really cool program.
Yeah.
I would have definitely gotten involved if I was in high school at that time period and was around. Yeah.
Like, what a fun way to volunteer and get your hours.
I would have 100% done that.
Right?
Yeah. And I remember, this is random, but it's a thought that it's a memory I'm having right now. It's coming back to me. The drawstring bags.
Oh my gosh.
I had so many Girls on the Run drawstring bags. I don't know.
One. I know. I remember.
Do you guys still,
one.
is that like a
go
popular
back and
swag?
forth. So we have done drawstring bags. We did water bottles for a while.
Yes, the water bottles.
So like any of those things that it's the same item but different colors.
Yeah.
And collected every year.
Yes.
That's so
It's
fun.
collectibles.
Well, what about Girls on the Run do you remember that you still either use to this day or something that comes up in your life today that you're like, oh, hey, Girls on the Run prepared me for that?
Well, I can speak on that. I mean, I'm not a big runner these days, and I do try to implement healthy lifestyle, and I really think Girls on the Run helped that immensely. So not that it was like you're running for you, not about like the 5K or anything. It's for you. And I think that healthy lifestyle helped, as well as getting comfortable being outside of the box. Like, I remember showing up to Girls on the Run in the morning and not really knowing any of the girls and being so uncomfortable and just being like, oh, this is weird. But then I started speaking to, like, I remember these 2 girls that I would speak to, and like, I realized we had a lot more in common, and they were sisters. One was a year older and one was a year younger. So I was in between them age-wise, and like, we just related so well. And it made me comfortable and made me okay with knowing that people are different, but we're also similar. And there's things that we can relate on, like running.
Yeah. I think to piggyback off of that, when you're so young, I mean, still to this day, there's people that a 5K is a long distance. 3 miles is a long run for especially a little girl. Like, that's a long time. And I think what it establishes is that you're capable of doing hard things and that you can push yourself and you'll finish and you'll get there, and there's going to be people that push you or that run alongside you. And then once you're young and you have in your mind, like, I've done a 5K. Oh, I could probably do, I don't know, that test that was really hard. You know what I mean? I can't think of an example, but things come your way and you're like, well, if I did that one hard thing, I can get through this hard thing too. Exactly. And I think without even maybe realizing it, that has had a huge just impact. That's how my brain works. That's why I've signed up for my first marathon next month, is because I was like, all right, well, if I could do that, I can do the next thing, you know? And like, you just push yourself out of your comfort zones, like joining a group of people and not knowing who anybody is. And I think that all of those, you're so young. That's like pivotal moments to be pushing yourself and learning that like, you don't need to be protected or coddled, and that you're strong and you can have a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. And girls, just like girls being girls. Yeah. We don't get enough of that these days. I mean, as you get older, you don't get that. And so having that as a young age is so important, I think. It really is.
Yeah, definitely at a young age, for sure.
And I'm sure I would guess that you, at the time when you were participating, you didn't realize that you were learning like these key life skills. Like you said, completing a 5K and being able to translate it to, oh, hey, I could do that. I could go do that hard test. Mm-hmm. But looking back, like, do you like realize, hey, like I learned some pretty important things.
Yeah.
We were actually talking about it a couple weeks ago when we had first talked about setting up doing this podcast. I was just reflecting over it and just thinking how uncomfortable I was as a child, and like how much more, because of Girls on the Run, it pushed me to do things that wasn't comfortable. And that correlates with work, with the type of work now. I'm a video production coordinator, and so I have to push people sometimes to do things that are uncomfortable and say, no, but this is what you need. And that's, honestly, I find that from Girls on the Run, finding that confidence, knowing that I should speak up, I should say something. And if I never did, I would have never met those friends. I would have never realized, oh, I'm this girl that only knows how to do this, but there's other girls that know how to do that too. So I think that was really what I didn't realize when I was that young, but like now I totally see it for sure.
Yeah, that's why we were so excited to do this podcast, because we were like, oh my gosh, like, yes, that's it. We've never like psychoanalyzed our own, childhood until now. And now we're like Girls on the Run. Like that.
And Cailor and I are very similar, but like we're also very different. But I think a lot of things that make us similar are those attributes that we got from Girls on the Run. We are both loud people. We're both confident people. And I don't think if we had that space when we were younger, we wouldn't fulfilled it. We wouldn't have felt comfortable to step into who we are now.
Yeah, and it's a sense of belonging. Like everybody just wants to belong and be a part of something. Yes. And then, already you joined Girls on the Run, and you could say you have like a posse, a group behind you. So I think those things they have major impacts on like the next steps after that.
Yeah. I also never remember any like negative moments from Girls on the Run. Like nothing that made me feel less of a girl or less of who I was and capable of. And those matter so much when you're a little kid.
I learned you got bananas after a race and then you could eat muffins and whatever you want because you just did a hard thing, so it's like you get rewarded. And like even in the picture, I found a picture of me and my dad after the first 5K that I did, and I'm like holding all of the snacks that they gave out after. That's probably why I kept doing it.
Yes, definitely.
That's a good reason.
Yeah.
I think so.
Snacks too.
Snacks are very important.
But it really, like you said, it created a safe space that you were able to explore new things, try new things. You felt comfortable to kind of really step into who you are as a person and who you grow into. And it's just so important for especially girls to have that space when they're young and at a time when the world is telling them, oh, you can't do this.
Yeah.
That's too hard. You're not gonna be able to do that. And just giving them a space to be like, no, I can.
Yeah.
It might be hard, but I'm gonna do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. We'll build the endurance.
Hey,
yeah.
In more ways than one.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, now tell us a little bit about where you are today and how Girls on the Run might have played a picture in that.
Yeah, so I'm currently a digital media manager at Steampunk. I work with a few different government branches, Coast Guard being one of them, and it's really taught me to not give up, truly. There's a lot of blocks when you are learning how to do something in the government world. There's a lot of pushback, and with that comes the endurance of pushing forward and finding new ways around it. And I feel like Girls on the Run really helped me look outside the box, really, and continue through. So I feel like that's how it's played a major role in my job and currently what I do. I also just think it's a great way of releasing, getting a run after work is always great. So yeah. What about you, Cailor?
Well, okay, to go off on I'm always going off of you. I like your answers. But okay, so now I work here at Steampunk. I'm on the marketing team. I'm one of our portfolio coordinators, marketing coordinators, and how I think it's played an impact on my life. A huge impact. I've always been running. I've always just had this love of running. I've never thought of it as like a thing to do. I've always thought of it as something fun, and I've done so many races. I have countless medals and bibs, and I've collected them. I kind of had an obsession with collecting things, so it was nice to have that, tangible thing of accomplishment. I just did a half marathon. I did a ton of races in October. I have my first marathon ever coming up in May, and I just see myself as definitely the person that's I do these things. I love it. I keep doing it, keep seeing how far my body will go and how much I can push it. But also now I love running. It doesn't seem like something I have to do. People are I have to go to the gym or I need to start working out. Whereas that's been ingrained in me. I know I could not run for 2 weeks straight and then go on a really awesome one in love it. And I think that all came from obviously the beginning.
Yeah.
It always does. So I think it really did come from Girls on the Run. And I still know a few people. Like I had one friend who would always do the races with me. Our dads would do it together. And then we did through middle school and then high school. And like, she's off doing triathlons and things like this. And we'll reach out to each other and be like, you got this. So it's always positive. There's never a negative moment. And I know that even at work, we have lots of different wellness and fitness and groups. And it's just finding people that think alike and are always looking to achieve the next thing and have goals and are driven. And I think a lot of that is, valued in Girls on the Run.
I think it's so neat how you guys have very similar stories when it comes to Girls on the Run.
Yeah.
But you also have very prominent parts that you pulled from it and that you keep going to this day. Like, Cailor, for you, it is that physical activity aspect, and it's just having that healthy relationship with physical activity, knowing that it's there to make you feel good, but it's not something that you have to do. And Mimi, on your side, it's really a lot of like those leadership, that confidence, those skills. Not saying that, Cailor, you got those too.
No, but
She does.
But the way that, like, how prominent it is and, like, that piece that you really pulled out. And I think that's what we want. We don't need everyone to pull the same piece from it. Everyone needs something different in their lives. Everyone lacks in different areas. And so just having this program to be able to give kids that piece that they're lacking and really just help them blossom into the great adults that they'll become one day is all we could ask for.
Yes.
Totally agreed.
Perfectly said.
Yeah.
We love Girls on the Run.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here, Sammy, and coming to Steampunk and giving us this opportunity to share our stories and really think about how much it has impacted. We've done so much thinking.
We have. We reflected over this a lot.
Reflection.
It mattered a lot to us, I mean, Girls on the Run, after we talked about it for so long, I was like, wow, it really did play a role in my life. And I didn't think about it when I was younger, but thanks, Mom and Dad, for sending your hyper child away.
Thanks for signing me up for that random program.
Yeah. Worked out.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for listening in. Tune in as we continue the series throughout the year as we celebrate our 25th anniversary in Northern Virginia. This episode of Joyful Journeys is brought to you by Girls on the Run of Northern Virginia.